Oh, hey, sorry. I had auto jump on. What's up? You have Q's, I have A's, so let's just auto jump into it. Was it easier getting your second degree? I'm thinking about going back to uni, but I'm worried I'm not going to have the motivation like the first time around. Should clarify as well, that made it seem like I got 2 degrees. I didn't. I left college the first time. If you don't know, I've been to college twice. As I famously said in that super drunk video I did. But I went to college the first time for music production, and I left after 2 years because I couldn't keep up with it for various different reasons that I'm not going to get into now. But I went back then to college a second time to go do hotel management. And I went in thinking that it was going to be an easy degree to get, and I wanted to just get a degree to my name because I was originally going to go teach English in Korea at the time. That didn't end up panning out, thankfully. But when I went back and did it the second time, no, it wasn't easier to do. If anything, it was harder to do because the motivation to do other things was much stronger than the motivation, because I went into it for the wrong reasons. I went in just trying to get an easy degree rather than going in for something that I was super invested in. And then the first time I went to college, when I was super invested in music, the course was a little too vague for my liking. It didn't get into the specifics of certain things more. It was just like a catch-all to do all these different things. So I got really bored of it really quickly. So I'd say matching the right course for you with your passions and with the stuff that you're motivated to do anyway, that'll make university life a whole lot easier. That's not that in and of itself is not an easy thing to do, but if you can marry those ideas together, it'll make it a lot easier. But for me, the second time through college was not easier. I ended up doing it more out of stubbornness and commitment to actually finish it the second time, rather than it actually being an easier thing to do. But the one thing that I've learned out of my experiences going through college is to not be afraid to ask your fellow classmates for help. The first time I went through, I wasn't able to do it. I felt dumb, and I didn't ask my friends and my classmates to help me learn certain things more, and that killed my motivation even further. And then the second time through, there was stuff that I just wasn't doing that asking others to help me do would have made it a lot easier. So just help is there in college if you need it, whether from your classmates or your friends or your teachers or the college itself. So don't be afraid to just reach out. I've learned a lot through therapy, but through your experience with it, this is very hard to read for an Irishman. I've learned a lot through therapy, but through your experience with it, is there one thing that stayed with you until now? I haven't done a super extensive amount of therapy, so I shouldn't speak like any sort of authority on it. But something that stuck with me in my brief experience with it was fixing my life balance. That was the big thing that I realized that was completely off. The reason that I was getting burnt out and frustrated with my work was because I wasn't doing enough in my spare time to really fulfill me outside of my work. The reason that I was getting burnt out and unfulfilled in my personal life was because I was surrounded by a bunch of negative energy and my perspective on things was just completely off. My goals and my aspirations and what I actually wanted to do with myself was off. So getting my life balance in check was a huge thing for me. It's still not perfect. I still overwork sometimes and then don't work enough some other times, and sometimes I don't do I want to say I don't do cool enough things in my spare time, but sometimes doing completely nothing at all is what you should be doing. So I just don't have my pieces in the right places sometimes, but it's a lot better now than it was like a year and a half ago. So trying to figure out how to take more time for myself, trying to figure out how to work not more, but more efficiently, and doing it in a way that's a lot more fun now, but also in a way that achieves a lot of the goals that I want to do. So just getting that all together in a better time frame management system has worked out a lot better for me. Who do you prefer, me or God? Let me ask you this, Satan. Has God done a face reveal? No. Has Satan on Twitter? Yes. Has God liked or retweeted any of my stuff on Twitter? No. Has Satan? Yes. I can't wait to see the headline. Jacksepticeye is a Satanist. Would you ever consider another tour, but adding a meet and greet aspect? For the original tour that I did, for the How Did We Get Here tour, I really pushed to try and do a meet and greet for each one of them. We ended up doing the VIP Q&A sections, like, I can't remember the time frame. It was before the show actually started, like an hour and a half. And I did that for like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and it was just a special little thing that the VIP people got to come to early and ask the questions if they really wanted to. So you got your seats early, you got some merch as part of that package. So I really wanted to do a meet and greet as part of that as well, but when we actually sat down and did the numbers for it, it was way too hard to actually figure out the time logistics of that. It would have been either less people, like 25 to 50 people for the VIP then and doing a meet and greet, and even that was hard to do. Because I want to give people the time of day, I want to be able to stop and actually talk for more than 5 minutes with each person, and actually listen and chat and meet and actually get to know each other, at least just a small bit. Because that's the point of a meet and greet for me. I'm not really a huge fan of the whole like, hey, hi, picture, sign, go. Because that feels a little too militant, a little too clinical for me. I like chatting with people, but to do that, it would have taken just a gargantuan amount of time. And we got in like that morning sometimes for a lot of the shows. So like 10, 11 a.m. we would get in, we'd load in at midday or 1, and then they spent all day setting everything up, doing sound checks. And then by like 4 or 5 o'clock we were ready to go, and then 6 was when the VIP would start. So it was just too hard to figure out the time of all of that. And you need to give people time for lunch, time for dinner, time to just break away and not work them all day. So I would have loved to, but it's really hard to do meet and greets when it's not just everybody in one room. And then it kind of feels like it defeats the purpose of a meet and greet. So the Q&A session was a good, like, sort of middle ground for that. But hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Sorry if this is too personal. How's your mental health been? Or doing anything to maintain stability? It's doing pretty good. It has its days where I wake up. Like even today I woke up and for some reason I was just miserable. I don't know why. Maybe something I read, something I saw, something I did. Could be any number of things. But I was just kind of sitting here in a funk and I was like, man, I don't want to do anything today. Going to the gym and working out in general has been a huge help for that, because I can work out at home. I have the equipment here to do that, and that's fine. But I like the aspect of like going out and doing like a communal thing. I like being around people and just kind of feeling like I'm part of society and not sitting at home all day alone. Even when Evelyn's here, it's still like it's isolating. I like being out in the world. I like being part of society because we live in a society, people. So going out and going to the gym for like an hour each day whenever I can gets me out of the house. It gets like a workout going, which is great just for your mentality as well, and it gets chemicals flowing in your brain and releases endorphins and all that kind of mumbo jumbo. But it's really good for you and it increases your health in general. But another aspect of that is that people don't realize how good it is for your mental health. So I've been trying to do that, and anytime stuff kind of gets to me, I've been learning to like pull away more. Like if I read a lot of stuff online about me, I think a lot of people in this position do, because stuff just, you get knowledge about stuff people are saying about you in general. Most of it is completely positive and most of it is great, but every now and then you'll get those things it's just horrible. It's just stuff written about you that's not true. It's all speculative. People are just so mean when it comes to online culture, when they want to be, because they think you're not able to see it. And sometimes some of that, I'll catch wind of some of that and it just completely ruins my day. And some days, like, it gives me like huge swells of anxiety in my chest to even like interact with some of this stuff. But I have been learning to like, okay, if stuff is getting to me, okay, time to back away, time to go do something else, and time to just be me for a few hours. And trying to like separate work from personal life has been a huge thing as well. So it's an ongoing thing. It's not something that anybody has figured out. You don't just go like, that's it. Mental health, figured out. I know what I'm supposed to do today. I know how to maintain it forever, because nothing lasts forever. Nothing that works now will work all the time, and not anything that works for me is going to work for everybody else. So it's a constant thing that you're trying to figure out, and I'm thankfully on the higher end of it, and I'm doing much better. Especially considering how I was this time last year, or like the start of last year, so I'm happy about that. Have you officially become a Minecraft channel now? Yes. And it's amazing. All I want to do is play Minecraft. There's times like in between recordings where I'm just sitting here like farming, like looking for diamonds and getting rocks and adding little knickknacks to all my houses and my buildings and everything. It's wonderful. It's great. Minecraft is awesome. I don't know why it took me so long to play it. What inspired you to start interviewing celebrities? I don't know if I say I was inspired to do it. It's not like I woke up and was like, yes, I want to do this. This is what I want to do with myself now. It was a happy coincidence of when the Ryan Reynolds one happened. He followed me on Twitter before that, and then I guess because I had been talking about Deadpool a lot. Deadpool's like top favorite superheroes. Him and Spider-Man are my two favorites. And then I was talking about Ryan Reynolds a lot because I'm just a huge fan of his and I have huge respect for what he does and just him as a person. So all of this kind of coupled together got wind of the studio who were doing Deadpool, and they were like, it might be fun to bring you in. You play Deadpool on your channel, he plays Deadpool in the movie. Let's put you guys together and play Deadpool and talk about some stuff. So because that one happened at all is the only reason I've been able to do any of these other ones. Because that one happened and it went so well, then other people are like, oh, that's fun. We can like tap into the YouTube space through me and the audience that we have here and talk about the movie and promote it in that regard. And I, as a happy byproduct of that, just get to meet some of my favorite people and in one of my favorite professions. So it's just been wonderful. It's all a bunch of happy coincidences and happy luck of the draw type of things that have happened. So I'm trying to make the most of it, and I'm just really, really fortunate and happy that I get to do it at all. I am trying to pick the people who I have interest in, though. They have come to me with other people in the past and been like, do you want to interview this person for this movie? And I'm like, not really. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure the movie's great, but I just don't really have any personal interest in it. And if I don't have a personal interest in it, it's harder to sit there and actually just do it for the sake of a video. So all the ones I've done so far are all people that I've just had huge fascination and respect for. Ever thought of getting a pet dog IRL that looks like Sam from your Minecraft series? Yes, I've wanted a dog for so long. The reason I made the name Sam was because I said that was going to be the name of my dog in real life if I got a dog. And I've been wanting one for like 3 years now, but I do so much traveling, so much work. I'm to and fro all the time, and stuff isn't set in stone all the time, that it would be unfair to get a dog right now. It would be unfair on the dog, it would be unfair on me. It just wouldn't work. So whenever I have the time and whenever I'm settled a little bit more and I'm not working constantly, then I will definitely get a dog because I love dogs. What's going to happen when you stop playing Minecraft? Bold of you to assume that I'm going to stop playing Minecraft. Is cereal just soup? No, cereal is not soup. Let's look up the actual definition for soup. Soup definition. A liquid dish, typically savory and made by boiling meat, fish, or vegetables in stock or water. A substance or mixture regarded as resembling soup in appearance or consistency. I mean, in that regard, I guess it kind of resembles it in appearance, but not really. A liquid dish typically savory and made by boiling meat or fish or vegetables in stock water. That's basically what soup is. Cereal's not soup. Can't wait for all the comments where it's like, well, technically, is the Earth flat or a circle? The Earth is a cube. It's one giant Minecraft block, and we all live inside it. What's your least favorite question to be asked by the community? Where's the green hair? Are you gonna dye your green hair again? Are you ever gonna dye it green again? Are you gonna dye your hair any color again? I remember when you had green hair and that was great and that was the best time ever. Are you gonna dye your hair green again? Look. I get it. The green-haired period on the channel was when the channel was booming, the biggest it ever had. So the most amount of people who had eyeballs on the channel all at once was during that period. And during that period also came with it a few series that were encapsulated in that one period of time, and that's when the most talk about the Jacksepticeye channel was happening. So I get why most people want more of that. They want more of that period, that era, that green hair, because to them, that's when most people found the channel, that's when most people were watching it, so that's what most people equate to what the channel actually being. But at this point, I've had my natural colored hair longer than I've had green hair on the channel. Please stop asking. What's been the most burning question? That's my question. Where's the green hair? Are you ever gonna dye your hair green again? Favorite animated film that wasn't made by Disney? Bold of you to assume that my favorite animated movie would be a Disney movie, which it's not. My favorite animated movie of all time is now Enter the Spider-Verse, because it is phenomenal. It's a masterclass in animation, storytelling, pacing. It's so good. It's character development. It's amazing. I love it so much, and it filled me with so much passion and motivation and just sheer joy watching it. So I love that movie. Have you ever had a dream that you could do anything? What do you miss the most about Ireland, and what do you miss the least? The thing I miss most about Ireland is kind of the scenery and the landscape, because Ireland's a very old type of country. It's super old. It goes way, way, way back. Older than most other countries in the world, and you can see it as you walk around the towns. Everything's like stone and cobbled, and grassy, and everything just feels very primordial in Ireland. It really feels like you're grounded to the earth when you're in Ireland. And for the longest time, I didn't appreciate that because I was young. I wanted to do more. I wanted to do more with technology and YouTube and everything. And Ireland's not the best place for that. That's what I miss the least, is the isolating element of it in regards to the type of work that I do. It's sure, some of it is there, but everything else that was going on with my job and everything, I just felt like I was alone in Ireland doing this type of thing back ages ago when I lived there. Of course, there's much more Irish YouTubers doing it now and more people rising to prominence, and it's much more of a career there and people are kind of wisening up to it. But in regards to like technology and internet type of culture, Ireland still kind of feels like it's kind of slower in that regard. It's not making the advances, which works to its benefit because it's also some of the stuff that I love about Ireland. And now that I've been away from it for a couple of years, I really want to get like back to my roots and learn more about the culture and the history of Ireland, because I don't know any of it. I don't know anything about like all of the troubles Ireland went through. I don't know any of the like battles, the like freeing ourselves from British rule, and any of that stuff. And that's all fascinating stuff to learn about. And I want to learn more about my culture and my history and the people of Ireland. So maybe sometime I'll take like a venture back to Ireland and do like road trips and actually see more of the country properly with more of an open mind to it. I know you talked about being interested in acting. Is there anything else in that field that you're interested in? Directing, writing, etc. All of it. Anything got to do with making movies or making shows or making whatever, sketch comedy or skits, all of that type of stuff is fascinating to me. I love how stuff is made. I love seeing the inner workings of things. Any of the projects that I've gotten to be part of in relation to any of this type of stuff, it's just been great to kind of be there and see other people do their job and how it's put together. And while I would love to pursue acting more going forward, and I fully intend on trying that at some point, in regards to writing, I love really good writing in anything, but I don't think that I'm the person to do it. I don't have any sort of practice in it. I don't think I have the focus and the discipline for it, because I'm more of an ideas person. I have a million different ideas, but I'm not good at putting them into writing. And I'm not stubborn enough to think that I can write all of the ideas that I have. So I usually delegate it to other people who are much better at putting my ideas into fruition. And I just like working with other people anyway. So I definitely would love to get more into like directing and writing and just acting out stuff in general. And I have some projects in mind that I'm trying to do that does incorporate some of this stuff. So I really hope that I can talk more about that stuff soon. Do you prefer sarcastic questions or serious ones? Asking for a friend. Why not both? One of my worries about doing like videos like this is that I don't want it to get bogged down in super serious stuff all the time. I like mixing and matching stuff. I like having a nice pace to it, a nice few jokes in there, or then on the other side of it, we actually have some deeper questions and some thought-provoking questions. So everything is welcome. Do you dip your French fries in ice cream? Yes. 100% yes. Milkshakes, ice cream, it is absolutely delicious to do so. Is there a game coming out that you really want to play? I really want to play Death Stranding and The Last of Us 2. Those are kind of the two that are on the top of my list right now. I'm really hoping they announce a Bloodborne 2 at some point, because I absolutely love it and I really want more of that in my life. But Death Stranding, yes, that comes out in November. I'm really excited to play that. I'm a little apprehensive about it because we don't know too much about the gameplay element of it right now, and I feel like it might let people down in that regard. I think people are expecting a little bit too much from this game. I still think it's going to be good, but knowing Kojima, it's going to be very story heavy. It's going to have a lot of cutscenes. It's going to have a lot of dialogue and a lot of story exposition. And the gameplay aspect of it, I'm hoping just supplements that very well and complements it very well. But we'll see. Last of Us 2 is going to be phenomenal, but I think that's going to be next year. So whenever that happens, I will be doing a full series on it. Because of how drastically YouTube has changed over the years, would you still say starting a YouTube career is worth it for those who want to give it a shot? Would you give the same advice for it as you have given 3 to 4 years ago? That's a very good question, contextualizing it from like now versus back then. I still think it's absolutely worth it, of course. This is the most fun job I have ever had, and I can't imagine doing anything else with my time. it's such a pure creative outlet. And sure, there are frustrations with algorithms and demonetization and copyright strikes and people being mean on the internet and all that kind of stuff. But the positives of this job and the positives of doing this completely far outweigh any of that stuff. Those are annoyances and grievances and get in the way sometimes, but day to day doing this as my job is just pure creative freedom. And I love being able to do it. And I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in where I can just try a bunch of stuff. I know when you're starting out, it's much harder, but I'd still say a lot of the advice that I've given in the past rings true now. Maybe with some slight changes, like obviously doing the stuff you're passionate about, doing the stuff that you know a lot about, doing it for the right reasons and just trying to have fun with it are all still really good pillars to start off a YouTube channel with. I wouldn't say that those are the only things to start off with, because you do have to be smart about it. If your goal is to actually make it a career and you really want to work at it, you really want it to be your job, then you need to get good at learning about your analytics. You need to get good at learning how to read the data from your channel, what works, what doesn't work. Just trying to understand all of that, because that can help you gear your stuff. You don't have to sell out. You don't have to turn into mindless stuff and do only the things that are popular. There's a way of marrying your ideas with your passion, with the data that's there, and putting them all into one funnel and making it go further than it normally would. Because for a long time, I also had that opinion, like 3 to 4 years ago, I was very staunchly against like, no, don't clickbait and don't do this and don't do that. And it was a very like high and mighty attitude. Like I thought I knew better because I was doing it for different reasons, when you can do YouTube for whatever reason you want. And if you want success out of it, there are ways of doing it, and you shouldn't really be made to feel bad for wanting it to succeed. Just because somebody else is not doing it for those reasons doesn't mean that it's horrible for you to want to do it in that reason. As long as you're not hurting anybody, then just do whatever you want. So I'd say just jump in, try it out, give it a while. It does take a while for anything, unless you have a completely insanely original, unique thing where it's just going to explode overnight, which no one can predict. No one knows what that is, because if you could, everybody would be doing it. But just jump in, give it a while, try not to get it in your head too much about like comparing yourself to what other people had at this period, at this time. Like, oh, this person was doing it for so and so years and they got this far, and I've been doing it that long and I haven't gotten that far. Different strokes, different folks. Not everything that everybody does is always going to be comparable to each other. So just give it some time. As long as the passion and the fun is there. Because for me, it was because I was bored. It was because I was lonely. It was because of all these different factors, and YouTube was a great outlet for me to be able to express myself, to be able to show people, hey, this is me, this is my personality, this is what I like to do. Do you like it as well? Like, come on in, let's have fun. And I think that that's at the core of what YouTube is. You can still do it you still do it in a completely business aspect, but the communal aspect of it, to me, has always been the strongest pillar for my channel. So I always want to try and keep that alive and keep that going. Also, sorry, this answer's going on way too long. The video is way too long. But another thing is to not be afraid to adapt what you're doing to what YouTube necessarily needs right now. That's also looked down upon every now and then as well, because if people change and they mold their content to a different form, just trying to adapt to what YouTube's doing. It's not a bad thing to want your stuff to still succeed and want it to do well. But sometimes you have to kind of like change what's going on in certain ways. You don't have to change completely. You can if you want. But you can change certain things to kind of go with what YouTube is favoring more now. And people get hung up. It's the same thing with the green hair and the happy wheels and all that stuff, because people knew the channel most back then. So that's the happy little bubble of the thing that they know. And anything outside of that could be scary and changing and whatever. But I can't be that. You can't be the same thing you are 3 years ago on YouTube now, because the platform has just completely changed and morphed. So many more people doing it. YouTube wants different things. The algorithm changes. So just moving and shaping and going with that, while also keeping your morals intact, I think is a perfectly viable thing to do, as long as you're aware of it, that it's happening. But that's gonna be it! Poof! All the questions are gone. Thank you guys so much. I love doing these Q&A videos. It's nice to just reconnect. It's nice to just be one-on-one and chat about stuff and actually have you guys have input in the videos and see what the burning questions you guys have. A lot of them end up kind of being the same questions over and over again, but it's still just nice. It's nice to have these types of videos where we're actually having somewhat of a conversation and getting some sort of opinions and thoughts out, because I think that's nice to ground the channel a bit more and have this like nice central hub of the community, like I keep saying, to have that there and keep connecting back to it. And you can branch off from it, but as long as I remember to come back and relate back to you guys and just chat, has always been nice. But thank you guys for watching, and maybe we'll do another one soon. Who knows? What are your burning questions? Let me know down in the comments below. Bye! It's hot in here. Are you hot in here? You're not even in here.